What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Reek Knows Hoops. I'm your host, Tyreek. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. This is a place where we talk all about NBA basketball, so if you love hoops, this is the place for you. And in today's installment of the What's Next series, which is a series where we talk about what's next for some of your favorite NBA teams, we're going to be talking about the Denver Nuggets. They had an injury-plagued season last year, but still had the MVP Nikola Jokic. They made some trades during the season to bring in guys like Aaron Gordon. And they had a couple moves this offseason, but I'm not really sure how to project this team without a healthy Jamal Murray. But I think they'll still be a very competitive team. So let's go over some of the moves that they made in this past offseason. As you can see on screen, the Nuggets didn't really make a bunch of moves this offseason. We know about the trade that they did during the regular season to get Aaron Gordon. And prior to the Jamal Murray injury, they looked like a team that could legitimately win the Western Conference. I was one of the people that said I think that they can win the West. After they made the Aaron Gordon trade, they just looked like a different team defensively, and they had a guy in Jamal Murray that they could go to late in games in the postseason, and they had the MVP. Nikola Jokic won the MVP award last season. Whether you agree with it or not, he did win the award, and he had a very sensational season when you look at the numbers, the advanced statistics, how the team was playing just as good without Jamal Murray during the regular season. But going into this offseason, guys like Paul Millsap obviously was a free agent. He left. He went to Brooklyn. Before they even made the decision on that, they brought in Jeff Green, which I think is an upgrade from what Paul Millsap is bringing to the table at this stage in his career. I think Jeff Green is a lot more versatile now on the defensive side. And, he can have a game every now and then where he can provide a good game offensively, even though that's not his forte anymore. He's more so just a defensive Swiss Army knife that can play multiple positions. And I think that was a very good move. When you got a guy like Jokic, you need guys next to him, and you got Michael Porter Jr. Guys that aren't really great defensively. You need guys that, are really solid defensively. I think Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, I think those two guys are very solid defenders. Of course, not having Jamal Murray for at least we think the majority of the season, because you got to think he got hurt in April this past season. And that's not a big timetable. I mean, I could probably see him missing at least until the All-Star break, maybe, going towards the postseason. So I wouldn't expect Jamal Murray to play many games this season, if any at all. So they're going to have to, look for guys to come in and supplement some of that value. Monte Morris played really well for them in the playoffs, and he's just one of my favorite guards because I remember watching him in college when he was at Iowa State. He's somebody that's just so solid. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's going to make all the right plays. And in the postseason, he was having big games. Like, he was scoring like 20-plus points a game, I believe, in that Trailblazer series. At least he had a couple of games where he was scoring like 25, 30 points. He was really giving it to the Blazers. And I think, he's somebody that when you have an injury, such a big injury to Jamal Murray, he's somebody that can come in and play very solid, solid minutes, the entirety of the season until Jamal Murray comes back. You still got Campazzo, who can run some backup guards. You still have Will Barton on the team. You still have a lot of guys. You drafted Bones Highland in the first round. I think he's somebody that can come in and, be, productive, early on as a rookie. Somebody that can really, score the ball, get to the bucket very well. So I think the Nuggets, they also lost JaVale McGee in the offseason, which is weird because they made a trade for him during the trade deadline, but he didn't even really play in the postseason, which I thought was one of the better additions, midseason trades that we've seen, but he didn't really even play in the postseason, which is kind of weird. They just really like to run Jokic the majority of the minutes at the 5. So yeah, the Nuggets are kind of a hard team to project, honestly. I would just like to see guys like Michael Porter Jr. take even another step forward this season. He was great last year. I believe he shot like 55% from the field. And there's going to be a lot of shots opened up with Jamal Murray not there for the bulk of the season. So I would expect the Michael Porter Jr. to take an even bigger step forward, potentially average like 24, 25 points per game this season. And the good thing about him, he does it so efficiently. Like I mentioned, he was shooting 54% from the field. Not sure what his three-point numbers were off the top of my head, but he's a pretty solid three-point shooter. Shows some strides defensively that he improved a little bit. That's still kind of a ways that he has to go, but I love the production that I've seen from him. He was good in the playoffs in the first round series against the Portland Trailblazers. I believe Game 6 he scored like 25 in the first half. It was something crazy like that. And he's somebody that can really put the ball in the bucket. Of course, we have Nikola Jokic, who I'm gonna show a video later on in this one that looks like he's in even crazier shape than he was last season. And like since the season got suspended in 2020 due to COVID. He came to the bubble. He was a lot slimmer than usual, and then he went into last season, was in pretty good shape. But now going into this season, he looks like He's lost like 15, 20 pounds. He looks like he's in amazing shape. Seen him. I'm gonna show you in the video. He did like a reverse dunk, and I'm like, I ain't never seen Jokic do that. So it's gonna be exciting to see if he is in even better shape than before. Because this is a guy that won MVP last season, and even he took a big step forward because he's somebody that wasn't scoring like 25 points per game. Before he's always like around the 20 point per game mark, and then he stepped it up even more last season. Averaged like I think a career high in points. Might have been a career high in rebounds, and I think assists too. Like he was really he took off last season, and they needed it in the biggest of ways because they were dealing with injuries all year long. Will Barton missed time. We know about Jamal Murray's injury. Paul Millsap was out of the lineup a lot. I think some other guys missed time too. Like when Gary Harris was on the team, he was in and out of the lineup. They were missing starters pretty much all year long, and Nikola Jokic really stepped up and gave this team a legit opportunity to be a finals contender until, of course, the big injuries to Jamal Murray. But yeah, the Nuggets, we know about how their season ended too, kind of underwhelming. They got swept by the Phoenix Suns in the second round. But I don't think you can really put too much against them because they were dealing with a lot of injuries. But you do have the MVP on your team, so you're expecting not to go out that bad. The Suns really made pretty quick work of them, of course, being a 4-game sweep. And the Nuggets didn't really put up that much of a fight towards the end of the series. So, yeah, but they did win the first-round series against the Blazers, which is a whole nother, kind of how did the Blazers lose that series? But that's another story for another day. But let's get into this Jokic video, man, because I was like, I can't believe dude looks like he's in this crazy of shape, man. But, of course, you already know, rocking with Halftime Hoops, man. Make sure you guys give us a follow. The link is always in the description, bro. Check us out because we got all the updates for all NBA news. And here go the video. Yeah. Dude looks like he's in crazy shape, bro. He looks like he's in crazy shape. So it's going to be excited to see, how much this elevates his game because we thought maybe him losing weight before was going to hurt him, banging on the block and stuff like that. But it didn't really hurt him at all. And now this Jokic, he's the MVP. He's coming into this season. I think he has a lot to prove because of the way last season ended. So I'm expecting another big year from him. I'm expecting guys like Michael Porter Jr. to step up. I think Monte Morris can have a nice, very improved season, getting a lot more minutes now with Jamal Murray being out. Will Barton's going to have to take a big step forward. He would have been a help in the postseason if he was fully healthy because they just needed some extra guard play that they didn't have. Somebody that can make tough shots, and Will Barton can do that. I love the addition of Jeff Green. I think that's going to be very well. I think Aaron Gordon, he shot very poor in the postseason. I don't think he's going to shoot that poor this coming regular season. I'm expecting him to have a full season next to Jokic. And they have a lot of versatile players, man. You can run a lineup where you have Jeff Green in there, or you have, you have Aaron Gordon, you have Michael Porter Jr. They have a very versatile front court. I like seeing that. Still got Mike Malone as the head coach, who's proven to be one of the better head coaches in the league. They did lose their assistant, Wes Unseld, who was supposed to be like the mastermind behind their defensive scheme. So I'm interested to see how they supplement that and if they're still going to be a very good defensive team or not. But the main thing for this team is kind of a wash here, but I still think that they can be competitive in a Western Conference that maybe isn't as dominant as it was once before. A lot of that's to do with injuries, like the injury to Kawhi Leonard. We don't know when he's going to be back. The Lakers obviously got a lot better, but we don't expect Utah's still going to be good. I think the Phoenix Suns are still going to be a very good team. But I think the Nuggets, they have a case to be right there as competing to be, right up there with the contenders in the Western Conference. And nothing's given right now. I mean, the Lakers look like they're the best team on paper, but nothing is given. They still have to go out. They got to get their chemistry together, and they got to produce. Same goes with, all the other teams. The Suns have to prove that last season wasn't a fluke. I think Utah has to have a chip on their shoulder too, and maybe Portland is improved with a new head coach and supplementing some new pieces into that team. Maybe the Clippers aren't a pushover even without Kawhi Leonard. That is a team that did make the conference finals last season, so you never know. The West it's wild as always, but for the Nuggets, I mean, I think this year can be just looked at as, if you're not contenders, just getting some guys better, getting Michael Porter Jr.'s confidence all the way up. So when Jamal Murray comes back, MPJ is still going to be that guy. Like, he can still be a go-to player. That way you don't have to rely on Jamal Murray as much. Continue just to grow some guys, give some young guys some looks like a Bones Highland. I believe Zeke Najee's still on this team. Like, you got some young pieces too that you can potentially just let them get some run. I think the Nuggets are going to be cool. I think they'll still be if they're a top 4 team in the conference, I would not be surprised at all. They do have an MVP. They have a guy in Michael Porter Jr. that's ready to take a step forward. They got a lot of very good, pieces around them that fit. And they're just missing their engine, which is Jamal Murray. That's who they're missing, their offensive scoring punch on the perimeter. But I still think they're going to be a very quality team. I'm going to be excited to watch them this season just as much as I was last season. Hopefully Jamal Murray gets back healthy so we can see what this team is really made of. But that's the what's next on the Denver Nuggets. Be sure to tune in next time because I might be talking about your favorite team.